Good afternoon. We are back here with you to bring you the latest in infamy of the U.S. government and the different agencies. So we got a lot of things to cover, but there are some new events happening to Barbara, so we want to discuss that. And before we get into all of this, let's have a station identification, and then let's go.
Station identification. You do that so formally every time. I don't know.
Isn't it station identification?
You're listening to The Medical Conspiracy on OrionTalkRadio.com and Micro1650.com out of Tonawanda, New York. Hello to everybody on Spreaker.com, TalkSuperstation.com, Shoutcast.com, TuneIn app listeners. Let's see. As always, we have today on the show Barbara Hartwell, and Barbara's website address is Barbara Hartwell versus CIA.blogspot.com. That's Barbara Hartwell vs. CIA.blogspot.com. And I don't know, Barbara. I know you have some stuff going on, but I don't know how much of this you really want to talk about.
I don't really want to talk about it in too much detail, except to say that previously, I think we had mentioned on the show about how there's a pattern of when people become targeted. Just
right.
like Dr. Carpenter has become targeted, I have become targeted, and others, including former FBI agent Gerald Sosby.
My dog became targeted.
Your dog?
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, poor old Pokey. They called the Owasso Police Department on him because he was barking too much.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I've heard the same stories from other people.
Amazingly, a dog is barking. And it's such an amazing thing that you have to call the police. See, a dog barking?
Well, they'll do anything. That's the thing. They will do anything. But in any case, the article that I put up 2 weeks ago, it's called Political Persecution in America. We mentioned it briefly last week, the War on Truth. And I have several cases on this article. Among them is Dr. Carpenter, of course. There's the case of Gerald Sosby, and I have links to the longer articles. I just put up excerpts. But here's another guy, and this is somebody I greatly admire. His name is William Windsor, and he has a site called Lawless America. Okay, and he has traveled the country and is still doing so, making a movie. He's videotaping all types of people who have come forward with complaints and grievances about what the courts, the judges, the police, you name it, the FBI, whoever they are, have done to them. Okay, and I would like to just read this little excerpt here. And anybody that wants to find the article can find it on the website. It's called Barbara Hartwell versus CIA.blogspot.com. This is just a brief summary of this man's case. Here it is. For the past few years, I've been reading Bill Windsor's website and watching his videos. I don't know him personally, but I was so profoundly impressed by his tireless and uncompromising activism against government corruption that I added a link to Lawless America on my own website. I would not presume to speak for Bill Windsor, but I can recognize the truth of his story from his own testimony. How could I not? The same things have happened to me. Stalked by criminal psychopaths, threatened with bodily harm, even death, slandered, libeled, harassed by lunatics and malicious liars, and having all my efforts to seek justice quashed and sabotaged by the very, quote, legal system which was designed to protect my rights and liberties. Lawless America indeed. Please take the time to peruse Bill Windsor's website and watch his videos. For those who want yet another first-hand account of persecution against a law-abiding citizen, a messenger of truth, he has furnished a large body of evidence, not only about his own case, but those of hundreds of Americans seeking justice for the crimes committed against them by their own government, who know the truth from their own experiences, who want to save America from the evildoers who are destroying this nation from within. Now there's a couple quotes from Bill Windsor. If they don't do the right thing here, I'll expose these bastards until the cows come home. This was about a court case where the judge actually assaulted him. The judge assaulted him by throwing his own paperwork in Bill's face, a huge 3-inch file of paper. He threw it at him, and then he threatened Bill, if you don't get out of here, get out of my court, get out of my office. If you don't leave, I'm calling the police. This is a law-abiding person who just came to file a complaint trying to get a stalking protective order. Now, here's another quote from Bill. Get this one now. My family's completely terrorized, so terrorized that my wife of 42 years divorced me, and this Sean Bushy, he's the criminal stalker, this Sean Bushy stalked her, threatened her with lawsuits, sent her a letter threatening her, sent email to virtually everyone she worked with, calling her all kinds of horrible things, claiming that she was stalking him. She's so afraid for her safety, the safety of her children and grandchildren, that she divorced me. Not only that, but my children and grandchildren no longer talk to me. I'm not allowed to have any communication with my 2 granddaughters, who I love more than words could ever express. So I qualify for a stalking protective order, but I was turned away. It's almost done now. In this video, Bill Windsor tells the story of the terror campaign against him, in which a criminal named Sean Bushy stalked and threatened him, causing Bill to be in fear for his life. Hear for yourself how Bill Windsor was treated by the authorities from whom he sought an order of protection from this criminal menace, Sean Bushy. And there's a link on the site at the bottom of the article where you can hear it for yourself. This is the kind of thing that is going on. We all know it. You've been through it.
It's probably another paid troll like Michelle Woven.
Of course. Exactly. And I've had the same thing. I've had the same kind of criminal. These people are criminals. Whether they are. Whether they have a criminal record in the case of the criminals that were stalking me, like Timothy Patrick White. He's a career criminal, okay? But they're being paid. And if you get a Michelle Woven, she may not have any kind of criminal record, but we know she's a liar, that she filed false charges in a court of law against people for assault. Which
is still a criminal, even if she was not prosecuted. She's still a criminal.
And she admitted on the witness stand that she lied.
Well, she had to admit it, otherwise they couldn't have stopped it and she would have ended up in jail. That's why she admitted it.
Exactly. But see, people that listen...
the damage was done already, though.
Damage was done. That's the whole point. You see, the system is so corrupt. And in the past, we did many shows. I think we did over 20 at least shows on the COINTELPRO and the counterintelligence operations that are being run. That's what this is about. And you know what? This has been going on in my life for many, many years.
And they never quit. That's absurd.
They never stop. They never stop because the corruption is so rampant. Okay? And there are those people, so few of us. It's you, Dr. Carpenter. It's me. It's Gerald Sosby, that's the former FBI agent, and this Bill Windsor, and a few others that I know of, who are totally straight arrows, who have come out and said, this is enough already. We are blowing the whistle. We're not going to put up with this. No matter what happens, we will continue to expose this.
Unfortunately, though, there are too few that would do that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
See, I told you last week about the compounding pharmacy being attacked again because they hire a third party to do the testing, for being sterile, their product being properly sterilized, and they hired a third party, and now the FDA is still saying, no, they're not sterile enough, which is ridiculous. If it's a third party that does that for a profession, that's ridiculous. Well, anyway, so I said to you that I was going to contact the company, and I contacted Park Pharmaceutical, but unfortunately I got no answer, none whatsoever. And it's because people are afraid. And that's the thing, don't be afraid. There was only one pharmaceutical company that said, no, hell no, to FDA. We will not recall our product because they were sure that it was fine.
Well, you know what, Dr. Carpenter, this is what I've always said, and I'll stand by it. As Bill Windsor said on one of his videos, and I laughed because there's a song by this name, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
It is the truth. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I will never back down. Never, ever back down.
Yeah, see, but I am not saying that's my story, because then there is the story word. These are the facts. This is what's happening out there.
Yeah.
And I will stand by it because it's happening.
It's the true facts of the story. That's correct. And I can tell you right now, if getting just briefly back to Bill Windsor and what he said, that he is not allowed to speak to his grandchildren, his granddaughters that he loves more than words could ever express. Well, guess what? And I hope I don't have to cry, but I'm not allowed to speak to my grandchildren now. I have 3 beautiful grandsons, and I am not allowed to speak to them. I have not seen them in a year, okay? I am not allowed to speak to my own flesh and blood grandchildren.
Yeah, well, and the family gets scared, okay?
Well, you know what Dr. Carpenter do? They also blame the victim. They blame the person who's doing everything. I move heaven and earth as best I can. And you know why I do it? I don't do it for myself. My life is probably almost over, okay? I do it for my grandchildren so they can grow up in a country where they have liberty and they have individual rights. That's why I do it.
I do it for everybody. My grandchildren, sure, but for everybody, because everybody should have it. That's why I keep saying, come on, it's affecting not just me, not just you, Barbara, not just Gerald Salisbury and all the other Bill Windsor. It's affecting everybody. People don't see it, but it is. It's affecting everybody.
Of course it is. And even the people that abandon their
it's affecting them too.
It's affecting them too. But if they abandon you, okay, because they're afraid, what does that really say? It shows that the bad guys are winning, and I don't want them to win, okay? Well, people can't stand up and say, enough already, that this has got to stop. We are going to support the people that are on the front line fighting against it.
I even had, I faced that attitude too. Oh, you're jeopardizing us. You're jeopardizing the family by basically being here and being who you are. Okay? I faced that too. Without naming names, I faced that too.
Exactly. So, Dr. Carpenter, I understand. You know, I have a friend, her name is Jenny Hatch, and she lives out in Utah. But I'm actually going to be on her show tomorrow. I've been on the show a few other times.
Yeah, I've heard that name.
Okay. Well, Jenny, I talked to Jenny yesterday. I hadn't talked to her in a long time, and you know, she wanted me to be on the show to tell the so-called the story, the facts, the truth.
You're on YouTube with her, aren't you?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I did a show. I did a couple different shows, but the thing is that now Jenny had told me that she actually took her website down because of her family was so upset over that she was in the public eye. And guess what? Guess what her story is? Stalkers.
Oh,
and
boy.
Why? Because she originally came out for natural health and against vaccines. She used to live in Denver, Colorado. Yeah. Now she's out in Utah, I think. But yeah, she was out there talking about what is the damages from these things. She took it upon herself. She did the research herself. Okay? And as a result, guess what happened? The same thing that happens to all of us that stand up and tell the truth and the facts about what these people, especially in the medical conspiracy, big pharma, FDA, the whole bunch of them, are doing.
You know what?
Well,
we know what Mark Twain said. Mark Twain said, the more I learn about people, the more I like my dog.
Oh, really?
I've heard that one, Randy. Actually, I saw a bumper sticker once. A few years ago, I was driving and I saw a bumper sticker. The more people I meet, the more I like my cats. Yeah. It's the same. I feel that way. People, people.
I don't like cats because cats are spiteful, so that's not helping any.
Okay, but still, if we're talking.
Oh, by the way, do you know that horses are spiteful also?
Really?
Anybody could be, I suppose. But the point is that I think at least animals,
some animals. Dogs are definitely not spiteful.
No. But the point is that
humans are so bad, but not all human though. See, that's the thing. And you have to work on the human that are worthwhile. Throw away the other ones. They really should not be allowed in the human race with all the and just take the pick. Just to say it the best way I can, they're just bad guys. They're criminals. Right, and recognize and expose them for what they are. Exactly. See? You have to do that. Expose what they are, and that does not mean that all humans are that way. There are good and bad. There are a lot of bad, unfortunately, but there are good, and just concentrate on those. And that's the ones that I'm trying to get the help.
Yes, the focus on this program, as on every type of radio program that I have ever been on or hosted myself, is the same focus. Let's expose the bad guys, the criminals. Let's give the facts so people can decide for themselves to stand up for the right thing. That's it.
And stop being afraid.
Yes, stop being afraid. Because if everybody stood up, they would have no chance.
They couldn't do what they're doing. Even FDA couldn't be doing what they're doing. That's why I was trying to get the compounding pharmacy together with alternative practitioners. We need to fight back. Cooperating with FDA will only lead to self-destruction. Don't do that. They are not honest. They are not reasonable. You need to fight and put them in a position where they are.
But they are lawless, as Bill Windsor says. They are lawless. They don't follow the law. They don't have any respect for the law, nor do they have any respect for the individual God-given rights that are protected under the Constitution.
They don't, and the government is protecting them and all of that. That's why we need to fight back. Well, one of the things I was going to discuss was, I don't know if you caught that article on the web earlier this week. I think it was Monday, and it was talking, maybe it was last Friday, I don't remember. But it was talking about the head of the IRS that was in charge of nonprofit assignment. If you remember, I think it was last May, something down that line, that she was exposed for denying the nonprofit status, and
that's right. I remember that, Dr.
And she was targeting the Tea Party members. Right. I don't believe she was only targeting the Tea Party members, because I know a few other groups that were trying to get nonprofit status, and they were having, and they still are having problems. Okay, so it's also the IRS that doesn't want to put people in a position of being nonprofit so they don't have to pay taxes. It's just corruption. But
it is, Dr. Carpenter, and you know what else too? This is just a known fact. Okay, a known fact that when somebody gets targeted, I've investigated quite a number of cases over many, many years where somebody runs afoul of the authorities, so to speak, okay, because they were telling the truth, because they were standing up and blowing the whistle, okay? In so many cases, what do? If the person is in a position where where they can be targeted by the IRS,
They do it.
the IRS down on them, even though they've done nothing unlawful, nothing. Okay? They will bring the IRS down. They do what they want, when they want. All they worry about is, let's get this guy. Let's shut this person down any way we can.
Oh, every way. Okay, but so what happens to this woman? People were screaming for her to resign, and if you remember, she refused to resign. See?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened is, well, she was put in on probation, okay? So she could not work, okay?
Probation.
Well, I don't know that you call it probation. She was suspended, basically, okay?
Yeah, okay.
But, get this, we pay.
Administrative leave is what they usually call it. It's with the cops, right? The cops that shoot somebody and kill an innocent person. Oh, we're going to put the guy on administrative leave.
We pay.
With pay.
Yep.
So she's still costing the country. Well,
About 30 seconds, by the way. Sorry.
Okay. The latest on that, and then we're going to have a break, but the latest on that is that she is retiring. Now, she's 62, so she is an early retirement. But see what it is?
Yes.
They helped her.
Of course.
And brought it to the point that she could actually legally retire, because you have to be at least 62. So they probably waited to her birthday, and then she is retiring.
Free speech guaranteed. You're listening to the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Orion News Talk exists because the corporate news media has failed us miserably. Our media has been controlled for decades. In 1917, J.P. Morgan bought up or infiltrated the top 25 newspapers, and news control became reality. The CIA took over in the 1950s with Operation Mockingbird, recruiting over 400 journalists and news people, including Walter Lippmann, Edward R. Murrow, and Walter Cronkite. And today's top media figures are members of the Council on Foreign Relations, a group that at best is a think tank for foreign intervention, and at worst a proponent for the New World Order. The number one rule in journalism is to always follow the truth. The number two rule is no entangling alliances that prevent you from following rule number one. So why then are corporate media members part of the CFR? And now today, 6 corporations control our major media, which is why more people are turning to us. So keep listening and tell a friend. Orion News Talk, news and views beyond the mainstream media.
Okay, just before the break, we were talking about the head of the IRS in charge of nonprofit assignments and what happened, and she's retiring now, and then Barbara had a comment. My point of view is this, okay? She is not the person that made the decision. She is just the front. And then, of course, she can be the fall person. The decision was of somebody else, and she was just following orders. And then, of course, she could be the fall person. And then, of course, they had, because she was doing what they asked, they had to somehow protect her, and that's what they did. She's still out, but at least they gave her a mean of survival, contrary to what happened to Barbara and me. Okay?
Exactly, Dr. Carpenter. They allowed her to have early retirement, and they covered it up just the way they always do. And even though she's a bad guy, she's just a pawn. Okay?
Yeah, she is assisting the real evil creature, but she is bad because she's assisting them. But let me tell you, that's a policy used even in the industry, because I went through that. What they do is put a woman in a position of responsibility because they think the woman will have somebody that's giving her orders, and she will accept the orders and do whatever group wants, and then she'll be, if something goes wrong, she'll be the fault person. And it's okay because she's a woman after all. And that's what I faced all the years I was working in the industry, commercial industry like IBM, or defense industry. Like, what they do is They put a woman in a position of responsibility decision making, especially when we were talking about reliability assurance and position where approve or not approve something. Anything that goes, and you tell her what to do. And anytime something goes wrong, it's her fault, she falls. But before that happens, they say, this is a person, a scientist with different degrees, but it's a woman, So what can she do?
As if a woman is a lesser being.
Okay. The mentality is a woman, she can be controlled by men, and she's a woman, she doesn't know as much, but we were bamboozled by the fact that she had these credentials, so we put her in that position, but she failed, it's her fault, okay, too bad, I'm sorry, we'll fix it. Well, they tried a stunt with me, and you know what happened?
Yes, Dr. Carpenter,
Yeah?
and it's the
You know what happened?
case of blaming the victim, because you were victimized, because you stood up.
Yeah, but what I was doing is, no, I will not approve this because it's not the proper level of reliability.
Exactly.
So
but
I
you
will
stood
not
up
approve.
for the right thing. You did the right thing from your own knowledge. And
I was not going to allow them to tell me to approve something that could not be approved. They were not, so they pushed me to the side. And it didn't work. The plan they had did not work. And blew up in their faces. They still found a way to boot me out of the system, and that happened at IBM, that happened at Marty Marietta, that happened... now, the other ones are left, so those are the
it's a typical pattern. If
Yes.
you don't go along with the program, you don't go along to get along, just comply with whatever they say, you
Right.
are blacklisted. You're a pariah. You're no
Right.
good. You're useless. You're going to be targeted and destroyed.
thrown out. And you know what? At Marty Marietta, they fired me by saying, not that I didn't know my subject, I didn't know what I was doing. I was thrown out for failing to cooperate. What they omitted is cooperate with dishonesty, but...
Exactly. Go along.
And I was thrown out by the security guards, like if I'd been a criminal.
A criminal. As if you're a criminal.
Yeah. Because I did not cooperate with their dishonesty. Yeah. I just unbelievable the things that go on, okay, and the things that I face over.
Well, it is, Dr. Carpenter, and the same for the same reason I left and broke out of CIA. I was not going to cooperate. I never did, actually. I never did. I had battles for years. If I knew something was wrong, if I didn't know it was wrong, I may not have known at the time, okay? But once I saw something's not right, no, I'm not going to be doing that. No, I'm not going to be doing that. I will not do that.
And then what happens is they try to terminate you one way or another.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Because you're not cooperating.
Extreme prejudice, like terminate, as if they're going to send somebody to whack you if they can get away with that, which they try. Okay?
Yeah. Well, we thought that maybe that was what happened with that accident last December.
Accident. What was no accident?
Yeah. They called it accident, but when my van was totaled.
Yeah.
Yeah, accident, like the accidents you had. Yeah.
The guy that accidentally sped up so that he could hit you.
Yeah.
And also that's in the same article where I go over the Bill Windsor case. Your case. There's a very long excerpt actually from the article where I describe what happened, how you lost everything: office, home, cars, 2 vehicles, and you ended up homeless and destitute. That's what I described.
Yeah. And, they're dancing up and down of happiness now because, we eliminated the threat. Because heaven forbid that people could be saved from the maiming and poisoning and financial destruction and eventual death.
Yes.
from cancer. Oh, and I have something. One of the articles I want to discuss, and we are running out of so much time, I really want to point out. There was an article that was discussing, actually they were patting themselves in the back, how great they are, how much cancer industry has improved tremendously, okay? I don't know that I can find it, but I remember, the report title is, okay, Continued Advances in the War Against Cancer.
The war against cancer.
Yes. And the disgusting thing is that they're saying how great they are, what much they have accomplished, okay? And actually the doctor that presents this says that the success is amazing, okay? And why it is amazing? Because in 1971, about 3 million people getting cancer. Okay, 1 out of 69 people would be a survivor in 1971. Okay? Of course, in 1971 was before they got with the standard of 5 years is a survivor. Remember? Doesn't matter that it drops dead the next day. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, and the amazing advances are that back then was 1 in 69, which makes it 0.015 rounded, okay? Which is very bad, okay? Well, today, after the great success, okay, in healthcare, what is it? It's 1 in 23 people that is a survivor.
Oh.
1 in 23 people. Yes, it is better than 1 in 69, but 1 in 23 people, you know what that means? That the survival rate is 4%.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what that means?
Carpenter, but you know what else, though? How many more people than in 1971 have actually gotten cancer because of the escalating toll of drugs and pollution?
Okay. In 1971, the number of people was 3 million. Now it's 14 million.
Okay.
But what I was saying is, if we want to talk statistics, the success is 1 in 23, 4% of people survive cancer with the way they count the survival, which means 5 years standard. So if they get more cancer 6-7 years later, they're still survivors. Okay? Yeah. So 4%, you know what that means? 4%, what that means? The 96% are failure. They die.
Exactly.
96%. Wouldn't you call that a failure?
It's a massive failure, Dr. Carpenter. And for them to boast, let's go back, 1971. How many years ago? That's 40, I don't even, I'm not good at math, but it's 45, 46, almost 50
44.
years ago.
It's 44.
4 years ago. Okay. So 44 years. They're boasting in 44 years about the great advances and the success, and 96% of the people are still dying?
Yeah, that's what I am saying. What kind of amazing success? And it is they say it's gonna get better, because this year 11 new cancer drugs have been approved. 11 new cancer drugs have been approved this year.
Cancer drugs have been approved by the FDA.
Yes, and this is astonishing progress. Because things are going to get better.
Because only 96%
die.
Of people who with cancer will die. And why are they going to die? We know why.
Out of treatment, not cancer.
Treatment, not because of the cancer.
Yeah, they never get the chance. Like I say, they never get the chance to die of cancer. They die of treatment. And when 96% of patients die of treatment or not, 96% die, that is not a treatment. That is not something to use because it's obviously a failure. I mean, come on.
Genocide is what it is.
And it's ignorance and it's incompetence and dishonesty. Okay? And what they give is the standard of 5 years of survival. Well, let me tell you something. One of my patients, years ago, that had thyroid cancer, and by the way, she was another one of those cases that they wasn't sure what it was, but they suspected it was benign, so it was safe to do surgery, okay? And she said, no, hell no. And she came to me, and I treated her, only 3 treatments because it was really small. And all the problems that she had that they call a carpal tunnel disease, they call it Hashimoto thyroiditis, all sorts of names for it. All the symptoms disappear after those 3 days. She went home, and her voice had been damaged, and it took almost a year to go back to normal, but it did go back to normal.
But she survived.
Well, survived. She's living, and she's doing great. 7 years.
Exactly.
7 years.
Not only
and you know what? Oh, but we don't know that she's okay. We have to see. 7 years when it's past the 5 years of survival?
Plus, in the case of your treatment, you took care of the problem once and for all.
Absolutely. No recurrences, no problem. And now they cannot find the lump. And I said, how come we can find it? We didn't remove it. Where is it? Okay? But then what they said, we still need to remove your thyroid. 7 years later. Okay? When she's fine, she has no problem.
Based on what did they say they have to remove the thyroid? Based on what?
Because they said so.
They said so.
Right. Yeah, she needs to have it removed because it wasn't removed. Yeah.
It's truly unbelievable.
And you want to know what's more unbelievable? I discussed this case. She was a guest years ago when we were still on Liberty News Radio. And she discussed her case. What happened was her husband wasn't thyroid, but was tonsil cancer, okay? He has it before her and started standard treatment before she did. She didn't now start standard treatment, maybe seeing what was happening to him. Okay. Her husband died. And he only went to standard treatment. Chemo, radiation, surgery, more chemo, and then he had lung metastasized to the lung. He died. Okay? And she's alive. And she was the one that was taking care of him, supposedly still with thyroid cancer, according to the establishment. And she was taking care of him before he died. And he died, going to standard treatment. And she lives and don't want to admit that it was this treatment that did it.
Well, you know what, Dr. Carpenter? We know, and you know better than anybody, but I can now absolutely state with certainty that I know, just from the research I've done since I've known you and been on this show, I know for a fact that aside from other experiences from the past of people that I've known and loved, I know for a fact if you get standard treatment, in most cases, you are going to die. Not from the cancer, from the treatment.
Unless you are one of those lucky 4%.
Yeah.
And how do we know that those 4% actually had cancer to start with, due to the false positive?
How do we know? That's the question.
Yeah. That might be people that didn't even have cancer.
Until it was induced.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I still have people telling me stories and discuss anything. Even with the false positive, there are cases where they push early stage as usual. Well, let me tell you what. There are some cases that are early stage and the establishment is incapable of figuring out if it is cancer. So what they do is, come back every 6 months, we'll wait and see. And how that goes in agreement with early stage detection, when they don't know what they're seeing, what they're looking at. And I have had a lot of cases, and I've had people contacting me, talking to me about it. A lot of cases like that. And then later down the line, it came out to be cancer, and they could have had it taken care of early when it was not as bad, because of their inability to do what is necessary to do. Okay? See? But that's okay, because they're the one who made the mistake, and not people like me. See? Those are not allowed. I don't make mistakes. I can tell when it was cancer. I could tell. Anyway, so that's the situation of cancer, and that's the situation of these advances in the war against cancer. See?
Well, Dr. Carpenter, isn't this coming month, October, the big month? Don't they have this big fanfare about what is
Race for the Cure, the Pink
Race
Foundation.
For the Cure in October, right?
Yeah, that's the common foundation, Race for the Cure for Breast Cancer. Has been how many years, Randy?
You know what that reminds me of? From the movie Scarface. I think it was Scarface, where the guy pulls out I might have been Al Pacino, I think. He pulls out a gun and shoots into the TV set. How many times have I been tempted to do that? From the idiocy spewing forth from a TV set.
Or like a president that shot the TV. Because they were saying bad things about him, and he took the gun and shot the TV.
Well, you know what? I can understand the sentiment behind that.
Yes.
No, I really can.
Yeah, like, when Jimmy Carter was running for president, his campaign, it was just awful. And they were teasing about it, say, I just cannot take it. I have to turn off the TV. I cannot stand to have that guy talking in my living room.
Oh, I feel that way about all the politicians. President. Almost every president that I've ever seen on a TV. Their lips are moving and they're lying. And I can't bear the sight of their faces or the sound.
And the people thought that Reagan was so great because he was a third-rate actor, but he was still an actor, so he could handle playing the president. I think he should have gotten the Oscar for playing the president.
Yeah, I saw something a couple of days ago that a bronze statue of him out in Temecula, California, was vandalized, and they started the article talking about this bronze statue got torched, and I assumed, okay, somebody melted it, right? No, they didn't melt it. They torched off some really bad fake-looking paint job that they had on the statue. Who puts a paint job on a bronze statue in the first place?
That's bizarre. Yeah, that's really bizarre.
Painted to look like a denim shirt and cowboy clothes.
God. That's stupid. Yeah.
And yeah.
So they torched the paint.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because it was bothering them.
The town is up in arms. Not
Why?
Ronald. Not Ronald.
Oh yeah, he's such a great guy.
Yeah, they love Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, how stupid can you be? Anyway, so that's another thing. He was saying what he was told to say.
Right.
Because sometimes that they caught him that he didn't have a speech ready and the story ready, he said nonsense.
Despite our best efforts, shortages of marijuana are now being reported. The job ahead of us is very clear. Nancy's personal crusade to expand the use of smokable cocaine, otherwise known as crack, should become our national crusade. Drugs are the mightiest force for good that we know. No one ever has the right to separate the drugs from the customer. And there's one more thing. Nancy and I are hooked on heroin.
Okay.
Well, but that's the way they do things,
Yeah.
No president writes his own speeches.